Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary, also infamously nicknamed The Rock, was a notorious maximum security prison located on a craggy, isolated island in the middle of San Francisco Bay. Its frigid waters, deceptive currents, and distance from shore were thought to make a successful escape impossible. What if I told you that 3 men successfully escaped from America's most impenetrable prison, using makeshift tools and a raft to flee into the night, never to be found again? Keep watching the video to find out about the crazy story of that incredible escape. To understand how significant the 1962 escape was, we first need to learn about the history of Alcatraz itself. This island lockup was built back in the 1850s during the gold rush years when San Francisco's population exploded. The small rocky outcrop was developed into a fortress to protect the booming Bay Area. By the early 1900s, Fort Alcatraz's military usefulness was declining. So in 1933, the US Department of Justice acquired the abandoned island and set about converting parts of the old fort into an unprecedented supermax federal prison, one designed to house only the nation's most notorious and high-risk prisoners. An important reason Alcatraz was picked was its isolation. Situated 1.5 miles offshore, the lonely island location guaranteed maximum security and enforced segregation from the outside world. Surrounded by bone-chilling water with dangerous currents, cryptically nicknamed the Bay of Death, it was assumed no prisoner could ever escape alive. And the San Francisco fog often made that water even more ominous. By keeping dangerous men isolated on a remote island, Alcatraz allowed the justice system to throw away the K forever for the country's worst recidivists and kill any chance of escape or outside communication. Or so prison authorities thought. In Alcatraz's early years before 1962, there were 14 separate escape attempts made by a total of 36 inmates. The first try in 1934 by Joe Bowers, who climbed his cell block fence only to be fatally shot, set a grim precedent. Most early attempts were haphazard solo efforts to swim to shore, and all failed. The closest to success before 1962 came in 1947, when 6 men briefly held guards hostage for 2 days before their plan disastrously failed, resulting in deaths on both sides. But the seemingly impossible had not yet occurred. A successful, undetected escape from The Rock. Now onto the trio of prisoners at the center of Alcatraz's most infamous escape plot, Frank Morris and brothers John and Clarence Anglin. Frank Lee Morris was already a seasoned escape artist, doing 10 to 14 years at Alcatraz for bank robbery. In 1960, he successfully broken out of the notorious Louisiana State Penitentiary before being recaptured over a year later while committing a burglary. Morris had an IQ of 133 and a history of hatching complex, carefully planned escape plots. He knew how to think outside the box and gather the resources needed to make an elaborate scheme work when the right moment came. His cellmate called him the Fox for his crafty personality. The strong swimmers brothers John Anglin and Clarence Anglin were also serving time for bank robbery offenses in multiple states. The pair had attempted escape twice before together back in 1960 from Alabama's Kilby prison, where Clarence was almost fatally electrocuted on a perimeter fence. The close-knit siblings even trained for Alcatraz specifically as children by swimming across the bitterly icy waters of Lake Michigan in winter, while it still had patches of floating ice. So they were well prepared for the bay's frigid challenges. Gathering the team prison officials unwisely allowed this trio of known escape risks to be placed in adjacent cells at Alcatraz from late 1961 onward. This gave them months of stealthy communication through wall vents to coordinate their activities. Together, they hatched what would become the most well-orchestrated escape plot in Alcatraz history. Morris and the Anglins slowly implemented their plan piece by piece over 6 months from late 1961 through June 1962. The first order of business was gradually widening the ventilation duct openings they had access to in their respective cells beneath the sinks and rear wall. The prisoners accomplished this by first crafting digging tools. They acquired discarded saw blades left in the prison workshops, which they attached to customized handles made from wood stolen from the dockyards. They stole spoons and forks from the mess hall at mealtimes to use as more improvised metal cutting tools. With these makeshift digging devices, they successfully widened the vent holes bit by bit after lights out, disposing of the concrete debris through the holes they created. Screaming winds usually drowned out noises, or they timed louder chipping activities to match other loud prison noises. To avoid visual detection, they created false vent covers made from cardboard and painted them to match the walls. Morris stole barber clippers from the barber shop to acquire human hair that the Anglins then affixed to the painted fronts with prison soap to resemble actual vent grills when guards glanced in. Adjoining the rear of their cells was a utility corridor with water and sewer lines that led underneath the entire cell block. By breaking fully through their walls where the vents were, they gained secret access to this unguarded backstage area through the holes they could now easily cover up or expose after climbing through. Over months, they carried stolen and scavenged materials through their escape holes into this hidden back corridor space. They used the privacy to slowly assemble parts for a daring means of escape, including a makeshift raft and life preservers, allowing a viable path of flight beyond the walls and waters that had doomed all past escape attempts. Building. The raft, remarkably, the escapees constructed a sturdy 6-foot by 14-foot rubber raft from over 50 raincoats and other rubberized materials like heat-sealed ponchos and hot water bottles. They stitched the pieces together using thread unraveled from prison clothing and the prison sewing shop. They vulcanized leaky seams using rubber cement stolen from the repair shops to make them airtight. They gradually stole or manufactured various other parts needed, like wooden paddles, life vests fashioned from more raincoats using techniques from a popular mechanics article, a concertina pump to inflate the raft made from an accordion, and an outboard motor possibly created from a prison vacuum cleaner. They hid the ingeniously designed escape raft in an unvisited wing upper-level wardens wouldn't normally access, and the men cleverly assembled backup gear for redundancy too, like life vests made from rubber tires. The final part of the plan was leaving convincing decoys in their beds on escape night so guards wouldn't immediately know they were missing during overnight rounds. For this, they crafted dummy heads out of plaster, soap, hair clippings, and other materials which were painted flesh tone and adorned with human hair the Anglins harvested from the barbershop floor. Finally, in June 1962, all the parts were in position for their risky raft departure. The men waited for the slack tide on a foggy night and made their move right after the 9:30 head count on June 11, 1962. They slipped through the wall openings into the hidden corridor, climbed up a ventilation duct to reach the roof, slid down pipes to ground level, and then inflated their folding raft at the island's north side using their handmade bellows. By sunrise, their beds appeared full, but the prisoners were nowhere to be found. The great Alcatraz escape shocked the guards when they discovered the bold escape at 7 a.m. the next day. But the ingenious inmates had at least a 12-hour head start into the night fog. A nearly 2-week massive air and sea manhunt ensued. Pieces traced to their presence that included a recovered paddle, wallet, and remains of the raft were found, but no sign of their bodies. It seemed they'd succeeded in an unthinkable task, vanishing out of Alcatraz without a trace. Were they ever caught? The simple answer is no. Frank Morris and John and Clarence Anglin were never definitively apprehended, despite one of the largest manhunts launched in US history at the time. Given the frigid waters and dangerous currents, it seemed unlikely the men could have survived a 1.5-mile swim from Alcatraz to the mainland. But with no concrete evidence, authorities had to leave open the slim possibility they'd made it. The FBI made the Alcatraz escapees among their most wanted as they shifted the manhunt nationwide looking for leads. But the case soon grew cold. After 17 years with no breakthroughs and over $2 million spent on investigative expenses, the FBI officially closed the case on December 31st, 1979. However, the US Marshals have technically kept the Alcatraz escape investigation open into the 21st century as an active cold case. They continue to follow threads and leads that suggest Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers survived the treacherous bay crossing and managed to evade capture since 1962. But so far, nothing has led to a definitive answer. So over 60 years later, whether these men lost their lives attempting the impossible or managed to disappear forever into free society remains shrouded in mystery. For now, they occupy a legendary status as fugitives who beat the inescapable island prison system against all odds. If tales of daring prison breaks or unsolved mysteries fascinate you, be sure to like and subscribe for more content like this.